So I'm going to try to explain to you the question. Why is it better than thermoformed? Well, for many things. First of all, I'll talk about fit and tracking, thermal reactivation, and force persistence. And I think that may be of interest to you. And now I don't talk about a liner anymore. I talk about appliance, because we have now different appliances that will be developed and make a lot better. And just as a little aside, now we are working on combining metal and 3D printed active memory polymers into hybrid orthodontic appliances. But that should come in Q4. So the problem with the thermoform is stress relaxation and creep, as you very well know. You lose a lot of force within 48 hours of the aligner absorbing the viscoelastic principle of Maxwell, where you lose a lot, 50% of the energy is wasted into the aligner, and you need a lot of attachments to basically physically grab the tooth. So that's the stress relaxation that plagues all these appliances. Creep is the different one. Remember, when you have an aligner, especially at the lower sevens, it opens up and basically it's not even holding the tooth. It's there. It doesn't do anything. It's called creep. What happens, you increase the number of aligners and you increase the refinements, and if you put too many attachments, you get a lot of problems with the low deflection rate of the appliance. The stress distribution is not good. There are many things that don't work. As you know, also non-uniform thickness, and there is a lot of stress concentration, and people make big attachments. They think it helps, but at the same time, they deform, they go past the elastic limit of the aligner, and it doesn't do anything. So it's a big problem. They have stress concentration around the aligners, and a lot of people use cheap machines and cheap plastics, and they think it works, and it doesn't. So what happens? So what's the deal with the AMP or active memory? First of all, it's 80 degrees for the reactivation. It's not 37 like graphite, so it's a different animal. One is shape memory, the other one is active memory. Why is it important is the fact that, yes, our active memory polymer has some stress relaxation, not as much, so it will stress relax. You can see that right here. And you need more force because, again, you lose 50% in pure energy dissipation within the aligner. So 4 Newton is basically what you need. So you start at 10 or 12, and then within very short period of time, you go into the 6 to 4. And then this is when you have good force, and then it's going to die if you don't do anything. But then you reactivate at 80 degrees, not 37. You reactivate at 80, and you get a new aligner. So basically stages, so stage 1, it's actually stage 01, stage 02, stage 03, until you get to 1. And every day you get a new aligner. And you can see here that our technique, does it stress relax? Absolutely. You can see the yellow has lost some power, but then you thermal reactivate it and you put it back in your mouth and you have a new aligner. So that's a big advantage. You also have, this is the concept of reactivation. Same as graphite, but it has to be almost boiling water. Okay, so it comes back very nicely. It's super elastic, doesn't break. Why is it important? You know that as well as I do as an orthodontist. Moment to force ratio of force is uncontrolled tipping. 10 for an incisor is translation. 6 is controlled tipping. 18 is torque for a canine. So we need an 18. And the problem is especially for torque, you need to be able to stay between 18 and 12 to get the tooth movement you want. You also need to grab the tooth, mind you. So what happens after 10 hours, both are good. Thermoform and active memory. After 40 hours, you're down to not even 0. That's the problem. You're still pushing with the aligner, so you got a 4 moment to force ratio. The problem is it's only pushing. So it's basically trying to use the aligner attachments to do the work, which it does, but it takes forever. So that's the biggest problem. Is this little curve that I created explained really well that you want to be between 14 and 10. That's the deal. Do you get to 18 for a long time? I'm not sure. But at least you need to stay in this area. Otherwise, and it's good for 10 hours. You can see that. 10 hours, you can stay in this area. And then you reactivate. So this way you stay into this curve. All right? Second thing is the precise fit. So now you have a very precise fit. You can see you engage the undercuts. So this tooth now is completely englobed. There is a lot of friction. We obviously print 0.1 millimeter of space, so we can still we can insert the aligner. If we went to 0 or even 99%, we would have an aligner that doesn't fit. So then I put these distal attachments. I like them, so you can hold it even with 3D printed. Second molars are not very good at undercuts. So I use this little attachment to hold the aligner in place. And this guy here is super precise. It's very small, very rounded, rectangular rounded, I would call it, but this one has no undercut. So as I said, we move from aligner to attachment to tooth. So basically the aligner needs attachment to grab the tooth, but we don't care about the tooth. We put attachments everywhere. Well, for me, it's different. It's tooth. I look at the anatomy of the tooth, the undercuts. We study with AI exactly every single tooth anatomy and the amount of undercuts we have. And then we decide if we put an attachment depending on the tooth movement that is required. That's completely different from thermoform. When you use active memory, you have to think outside the box. You can't just take the Invisalign and copy it blindly. It's not going to work. And this is interesting. So this is the intaglio of an aligner in PVS, very soft PVS. So you can see that they look pretty much the same, but when you go closer, the real contact from the thermoform to the tooth is that. So you lose all the interproximal space, you lose all the occlusal almost. But if you take the 3D printed active polymer, you can see that it's in focus. It's not blurred or anything. My wife took the pictures and she focused on the bubbles. So it's on focus. You can see it's still a bit blurry because of the 0.1 millimeter, the 10 micron difference. So it's not perfectly, but you can see that you can have all these surfaces, all these undercuts, all this rounded thing here, and it creates the friction on top of it. So you have friction and undercut engagement. And it replaces the attachments? Yes, because if you can engage here, this surface replaces this one. This surface replaces this one. You can take the attachments out, no problem. Then you can also have the thickness variation. So this is, again, you can modify how much thickness you want. So 0.5 for the lingual, 0.8 for this part of the tooth. You can also put 0.8 here and 0.8 here, or 0.6, 0.7, whatever you want. And you can also put this 1.1 millimeters inside to create a negative attachment to put even more torque on the system. And 0.1 is enough because the increase in thickness is to the H being the thickness increases to the third power. So you can see that the surface increases to the third power, which the surface stays constant, but the problem, well, almost constant, I should say. But the thickness goes to the third power, which means that going from 0.5 to 0.7 makes a big difference, especially if you do it into very specific areas. So this is basically my presentation, and this is showing you how well adapted this is. A bit Photoshop probably, but you can see that these things are grabbing the teeth at the interproximal level like nothing can do it. And that's why they work. And no thermoform aligners can do that. It's impossible. So hopefully you like my little presentation, and thanks for asking the question. I'm very honored that you took the time to send me this message. Thank you.